Welcome back. Today, we're jumping into section 6 of our source material. It's called When Things Go Wrong, which, really gets into how creative language can be. We're looking at the words people use for difficulties, problems, even failure.
That's exactly it. And our mission today really is to cut through this section, find, say, 5 key idioms that capture these tricky situations. The goal is to give you, the listener, a fast track to understanding them.
I like that linguistic shortcuts. Instead of just saying, my product is broken, we use these, really vivid images, don't we? Okay, let's unpack this with our first idiom. This one's about something that's fundamentally defective.
Right, and that idiom is lemon.
A lemon. Simple word, but the meaning. Pretty harsh. Something you bought that's defective just doesn't work right. And the forces point out it's really common for cars, right? A car that breaks down almost immediately.
Yeah, think about how disappointing that is. It's not just like a minor issue. It fails at its main job. Joanne's new car in the material, that's the perfect example. Looked great, probably cost a lot.
I know, but she drove it off the lot and boom, nothing but problems. Started breaking down straight away.
That's a lemon?
That bitterness? You pay for something new and shiny and get something broken.
Yeah.
It makes sense why we use a sour fruit name. But hang on, does calling a car a lemon mean the seller knew? Like, were they deceitful? Or is it just bad luck, bad manufacturing?
That's a good question. The sources generally frame it more as poor quality control or just a fundamental flaw in that specific item, not necessarily malice from the seller.
Okay.
The power of the idiom is that it suggests it was never good, right from the start. It's not something that wore out. It was inherently flawed. It kind of sets a high bar for failure, It's different from just needing a repair.
So if I get a brand new laptop and it just stops working after 2 days, I could definitely say this thing is a lemon. Captures that feeling of being cheated by the object itself.
Precisely. It nails the disappointment when something new fails its basic function. That link between the sour taste and the sour experience is really potent.
Okay, from that kind of product despair, let's shift to something a bit more hopeful maybe. Recovery from a tough spot. Our second idiom is about escaping danger. Out of the woods.
Meaning you're past the immediate danger or difficulty. The worst part of a risky situation is over.
Yeah, the image is so clear. Escaping a dark, confusing forest. You might not be home free yet, but you can see daylight. You know the absolute worst is behind you.
The sources often use this in medical or financial contexts. Think about Eric recovering from pneumonia. His condition was improving, signs were better, but the doctors said he was not out of the woods.
Still needed to be careful.
Exactly. Take it easy, avoid cold. So yeah, progress, but still in that fragile state where things could easily go wrong again. He wasn't fully safe yet.
It really captures that in-between stage, doesn't it? Progress, but not safety. And you hear it for bigger things too, like the economy improving after a recession, but maybe unemployment's still high.
Right. Analysts will say, well, we're not out of the woods financially. What's really interesting here is how it manages expectations. Saying someone is not out of the woods acknowledges they survived the initial crisis, but it stresses that caution is still needed. It implies, progress, but safety isn't guaranteed. You could still slip back into the woods, so to speak.
Prevents people from celebrating too early. That's useful. Okay, so that moves us from external danger, like illness or finance, to something more internal, our mood. Idiom number 3. Get up on the wrong side of the bed.
Ah, yes. When the problem seems to be, just inside your own head that day.
Yeah, it means waking up grumpy, irritable, maybe for no obvious reasons. Like we just accept that sometimes people are in a bad mood,
Bernard, in that office example from the source, is perfect. Comes in, starts shouting, acting really grumpy, no clear trigger, so everyone just thinks, he must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed.
The lack of a clear reason is key, isn't it? Which makes it a really handy social phrase. It's kind of a gentle way to explain someone's bad mood without making it a big deal or causing more conflict. Asking, why are you yelling, might just make things worse.
Exactly. It sort of gives temporary permission for the grumpiness, framing it as this random passing thing, not a deep character flaw. It allows for a bit of empathy while still letting them know, hey, we notice you're being a bit difficult.
You could even use it for yourself, right? Like, sorry, everyone, I think I got up on the wrong side of the bed today. Quick apology.
Yeah, offers a simple reset. It works.
It's a neat bit of social negotiation. Okay, let's move from that internal moodiness to an external situation involving deliberate choice and maybe social risk. Idiom 4, out on a limb.
This one shifts the idea of risk squarely into the social or professional arena. Being out on a limb means you're in a vulnerable spot, usually because you've taken a stance that's unpopular or goes against what most people think.
And the image, again, is so direct. You're out on this thin tree branch, it could break, you could fall. Not physical danger, but danger to your reputation, maybe your standing. Here's where it gets really interesting.
The sources really highlight the stakes. Remember those committee members? They argued against expanding the student aid program. They knew it was unpopular. With colleagues, with the public, they were consciously going out on a limb, putting themselves in a risky position. Their reason was, well, other budget priorities. They felt justified, but the risk, undeniable.
It really emphasizes that this isn't just having an opinion, it's having one that specifically goes against the grain, against a powerful group. Takes some guts, maybe. Yeah. But the sources also mentioned using it for predictions, like I'll go out on a limb and predict he'll win. How does predicting fit the risk idea?
That's a slightly different flavor, yeah. In the prediction sense, the risk isn't about getting criticized by your peers right now. It's more about being publicly wrong later, which still carries a bit of a reputational risk, being shown to have made a bad call. But in both uses, the core idea is there. You're deliberately stepping away from the safe majority position. You're risking isolation, or maybe even looking foolish.
So the vulnerability comes from standing alone. Got it.
Oh.
That connects nicely to our last idiom for this deep dive, which is about internal distress again, but this time caused by persistent worry. Idiom 5, eating someone.
Right. A very vivid, almost visceral metaphor, isn't it? Something is bothering you, worrying you deeply, constantly. It's like it's consuming your thoughts.
And the sources link this internal worry directly to changes you can see in someone's behavior. Alice, for instance, became rude, irritable. Turns out something was deeply troubling her. She even apologized later, acknowledging her inner distress was spilling out and affecting others.
And that's exactly the situation where you'd use this idiom. You notice someone's acting differently, seems withdrawn or tense. You might ask, hey, what's been eating you lately? Or is something eating at you?
It feels different from wrong side of the bed, which is temporary. This implies something ongoing, something that's really taken root.
Yeah, it suggests there's no rest from it, no resolution yet. And it's kind of passive, isn't it? The worry is doing something to the person. It implies if it's not dealt with, it'll just keep draining them.
The language itself shows how serious the internal pressure is. It's not just a little annoyance. It's like this consuming force affecting their well-being and how they interact with people. It's a strong way to talk about that kind of chronic stress.
Definitely.
Wow, okay. We've covered quite a range today, from broken products to deep-seated anxiety. Let's just quickly recap those 5 shortcuts we pulled out.
Sure. We started with lemon. That's for something you bought, especially a car that's just fundamentally defective. Immediate disappointment.
Then, out of the woods. That fragile state of recovery past the worst danger, maybe from illness or financial trouble, but not totally safe yet.
Then get up on the wrong side of the bed, waking up inexplicably grumpy or irritable, a temporary internal thing.
Followed by out on a limb. Taking a risky, unpopular stance, putting your reputation or social standing on the line. A conscious choice.
And finally, eating someone. That persistent consuming worry that deeply bothers a person and often shows in their behavior.
So what does this all mean? Looking at these 5 together, what do they tell us about the language we use for difficult times?
Well, when you group them like this, you see they're really powerful because they often skip describing the actual event. The specific argument, the details of the illness, the faulty car part. Instead, they describe the state that event created.
The feeling or the situation caused by the problem.
Exactly. They capture the emotional context, the social risk, the professional standing, the level of worry, or just the sheer failure. And crucially, they're quick ways to signal or understand agency. Like, did this problem just happen to me? Or did I, in some way, choose this difficulty?
That's fascinating. The words themselves hint at who's responsible, or if anyone is.
So before we wrap up, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about those 5 idioms. Lemon, out of the woods, get up on the wrong side of the bed, out on a limb, and eating someone. Which ones feel like the problem came from outside, something inflicted on you, like buying that lemon?
Right.
And which ones suggest the problem is more, well, self-inflicted, or at least rooted in a personal choice or state, like going out on a limb? Consider that idea of agency embedded in the language we use for failure and trouble.
A great point to ponder how our phrasing reflects responsibility versus chance. Thanks for walking us through this really insightful section, and for you listening, keep exploring how language helps us navigate these complex, difficult parts of life.